Welcome to Inner Light. My name is Angela, and in this video I'm going to be sharing with you two very practical things that you can do on a daily basis that will really help you accelerate the process of your spiritual evolution. I think you're gonna love it. Stay tuned. And so when you want to travel from A to B, it's very important to know where you are, where you're going, and how to get there. And obviously, using a GPS makes it much easier. In the spiritual path is the same way. It's very important to know where we are heading so we avoid going round and round in a circle and not getting anywhere. And so tonight, I would like to talk about the 3 stages of our spiritual evolution to help us understand where we are, where we are heading, and how to get there. As you know, our spiritual evolution is very much related to the evolution of our consciousness, in which we move from a 3D state of consciousness to a 4D state of consciousness, and then eventually to a 5D state of consciousness. And I'd like to talk a little bit about each one of those stages for us to be able to become familiar with and understand in which one we are. So the 3D, three-dimensional level of consciousness, it is a state of consciousness in which most of humanity find itself in right now. And it is a state of consciousness that is dominated by a sense of separation, meaning that we entertain this false belief that we are separate from our Creator, which is God. So we have this sense of separation. Also, in this stage of consciousness, our attention is mostly in the external conditions of life, and we have very little awareness as to what is taking place within ourselves. It is a state of consciousness that is dominated by the survival mode, in which many people find themselves doing things that they don't like in order to be able to survive, in order to be able to provide for them. That's why you see a lot of people working an 8-hour job. They really don't like it, but they believe that it is the only way for them to survive. This state of consciousness, the mind is extremely active. We are rarely on the present moment, and most often than not, we are lost in thought, thinking about the future, thinking about the past, but very rarely present in the present moment. When we begin to move from the 3D to the 4D, our focus of attention begins to withdraw from the outside and bringing it into ourselves, as we realize that whatever is taking place within ourselves is determining the experience that we are having outside of ourselves. That's when we begin to train our mind to focus on more positive things. We begin to train our mind to have some control over our thoughts, our thinking process, and most importantly, through the practice of meditation and mindfulness, we begin to bring our attention back into the present moment. We also are introduced to the idea that God is not separate from ourselves, but very much present within ourselves, breathing through us, beating our heart, taking care of all the functions of our body. And so we move from a stage in which there is this sense of struggling, having to do something that we don't like in order to survive, into a stage in which we do something that we are passionate about it, and the universe provides for us the things that we have need of. And so when we move from the second stage, the 4D state of consciousness, to the 5D state of consciousness, which is also known as the unity consciousness, the individual begins to identify himself with this indwelling presence that is common among everybody else. So he gains that sense of unity. his focus of attention is most of the time in the present moment, and he gained an awareness of another realm of existence, which is present right here and right now, but is eternal, it is omnipotent, it is omnipresent. And it is precisely through the awareness of this other realm of existence that the great teachers and masters of our time that attained this 5D level of consciousness, such as Jesus, Buddha, Moses, Krishna, and so on, it is through the ability to see or perceive this other realm of existence that they are able to perform what we call miracles. So, for example, they're able to look through the appearance of lack and limitation, through the appearance of illness, through the appearance of death, and be able to see perfection there and bringing that perfection into a tangible expression in what it seems to be a miracle. And so, as we move from having to struggle to survive to doing something that we are passionate about it in order to survive, we move into a state of grace in which the universe, knowing the things that we have need of, begin to bring it to us without us having to struggle for it. So the question is, how can we move from a 3D to a 4D to a 5D state of consciousness? And I'm going to share with you 2 things that I have been doing in my daily routine that I find it to be really helpful, and I hope that it can be helpful to you as well. So the first thing is this. When you are doing an ordinary activity, such as you're going to the kitchen to get a glass of water to drink, or you're going to take your dog for a walk, or you're going to prepare a meal, my invitation for you is this. Silently repeat to yourself, this is the most important moment, and this is the most important activity. Why? Because the present moment is actually the only moment that really is. And whatever we are doing at that present moment becomes the most important thing. And when we begin to engage in this way in our ordinary activities, even if we just remind ourselves a couple of times a day, what we are doing is we begin to recognize and add value to the activity that we are doing in the present moment. In other words, we begin to transform an ordinary activity into a very powerful spiritual practice. Just remember, one of the differences between the 3D state of consciousness and the 5D state of consciousness is that the 3D, you have the monkey mind extremely busy, and the 5D is fully present. So in that transitional period, it's very important that we master the art, not only to value being in the present moment, doing whatever it is that we are doing, but as we incorporate that on our daily routine, we begin to make the transition in those states of consciousness. So just remember, say that to yourself. Wherever I am is the most important place to be, the present moment, and whatever I am doing right now, even though it looks very ordinary and insignificant, indeed is the most important thing that you could be doing, because it's the action that is being taking place in the present moment. A second thing that I highly recommend you to do is this. One of the quickest ways to move from a 3D to a 5D is to begin to use the power of your imagination to see yourself already being in the 5D state of consciousness. And one of the things that you can do to help you with that is this. Ask yourself the question, how would I feel if I knew beyond any measure of a doubt that the place whereon I stand is holy ground, that the fullness of the presence of God, with all its healing power, with all this abundance, is present right here and right now and being offered to me, how would you feel? I'm sure you are going to feel wonderful. And ask yourself the question, how would I feel if I knew beyond any measure of a doubt that right now God loves me unconditionally, that I am loved beyond any measure? How would you feel if you knew that to be true? How would you feel if you knew that right here and right now you are abundance itself? So the invitation is for you to begin to inquire how would you feel, and let the feeling to be revealed from within yourself. And as you abide in that, even if for a few minutes a day, I usually do like 5 minutes a day right before I do my meditation. And as you begin to abide in those feelings, you begin to move in the right direction at a much faster pace. So the point that I'm trying to make is this. To each one of us have been given this seed, the seed that contains the potential for us to arriving at that 5D level of consciousness, which is a state of mastery. So the question is, what are we going to do with that seed? Are we going to put that seed in our pocket and do nothing about it? Or are we going to put that seed into the ground and nurture it with water and with light? If you decide to put that seed on the ground and nurture it with water and light, through your spiritual practices, one day that seed is going to turn into a mighty tree. And just as those teachers and masters were able to live a life of grace, so will you be able to attract to you everything that you have need of without having to struggle for it.
There is a greater love, a greater love living in.
I hope you had enjoyed this video. And always remember that whenever you begin to implement spiritual practices to your daily routine, that's when you see the greatest transformation in your life. So as often as possible, repeat to yourself, this is the most important moment and this is the most important activity. Even though it may look unimportant or trivial, such a practice will help you not only to really appreciate more the present moment, but will cause a profound transformation in your life. If you like this video, just click the like button below and subscribe to the channel. If you know someone that can benefit from it, please feel free to share it with them. I really appreciate you watching this video, and having said that, a big hug to you. And from my heart to your heart, I see you in love and light. Thank you. Namaste.